They took all these illegal ballots and did all this stuff, and they knew the cities where to put them, and they just chalked these certain districts full and flipped the election. It really wasn't that hard.
These politicians, they're getting rich, and their pay is not millions of dollars. So what are they doing?
I do believe if we had Kamala Harris, that we would be in World War III.
And then they're like, give me the list. And my name's on the list.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I was on the list. There was nothing going on there.
And then they sell the video footage of him getting stabbed, and they're profiting off of that too.
Why don't they sell the Epstein video?
Yeah, no kidding. Cancel me. Cancel me from what? I don't care. I just don't. That's why I think Donald Trump got elected, was because of that very sentiment.
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I've got a real treat for you. Buckle up. Today we're dropping bombs with a woman who can turn a Washington gridlock into a green light. She cut her teeth on Capitol Hill, spent 5 years in the trenches shaping policy, and then built London Global Strategies, the boutique war room that Fortune 500 CEOs and foreign heads of state speed dial when the stakes hit DEFCON 1. She's the CEO of the Secret Weapon Agency, the name says it all, and a Newsmax fire breather whose op-eds slam dunk everything from Chinese censorship to America's steel game. Vice President of X Capital Investments, Senior Advisor to the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, and a board seat with Promising People, championing second chances and criminal justice reform. Instagram knows her as the London heiress, but tonight you'll know her as the strategist, the fixer, the closer, Diana London. Welcome to the show.
Whew.
What's happening?
I like me.
Yeah.
Just listening to that, I'm thinking, who is that girl? I need to know her.
Well, everybody needs to know you. That's why I'm glad you're on the show.
Well, thank you.
Now, let me ask you a question. You spent a half a decade crafting policy in Congress before launching your global strategies. Was there a single enough is enough moment that pushed you from staffer to CEO, or was it a calculated long game?
Both, actually. And I'll tell you, so I started off in the state legislature in North Carolina for a fire breather. He won the award. His name was Bob Steinberg, and he won the award for the Rocky Balboa Award. So I learned how to fight in his office because he took on prison reform in a different way. There was a brutal stabbing from some correctional officers in his district, and a whole war broke out in the prison, and he said, enough is enough. I'm taking on prison reform. And in North Carolina, it was a big deal. And so he traveled, I helped him, and he started, crafting some pretty serious policy. So that's how I started. So when I got to Congress, I worked for Congressman Matt Gaetz, and that's probably the ultimate fighter in our generation. He is the firebrand, as they called him, and we call it the Gaetz War Room. So you go in, and you are thrown to the fire as soon as you get in there. You're taking on the press, you're taking on, some pretty controversial things. So to answer your question, COVID hit. And when I got into Congress, I knew, okay, I'm only going to be here for a season, but it's my season to know everybody, know as much as I can about the process of government, the process of communicating policy to people, the process of getting things done. How do we get it from the Congress to the White House, or how do you work with the White House? And, I worked under Trump, so it was a different game. And people like me who would be considered nothing could actually be very effective as a staffer because I understood the business world. Working in New York, and I was there when Trump announced his presidency. So I knew at that point I didn't want to be there forever. One, because there was no money, and two, it's because it just was a hard quality of life. But I knew during that season I was going to roll up my sleeve and I was going to learn everything. And I knew I would get off the Hill, and then I would leverage my positions on the Hill of how that works. So it kind of happened sooner than I would imagine because COVID hit. And I knew right at that point, I got to get out of here. Like, I'm not going to work from my house locked up in D.C. I don't believe half this stuff anyways. And I had opportunities to get off of the Hill and run some pretty solid campaigns for women who were running to run for office. So, yeah, that's how I initially got in.
Where were you before that?
Before D.C.?
Yeah,
I was in New York.
Like I always picture people like teenagers. Like, you're running around the neighborhood, hanging out with your girlfriends, and next thing you know, you're powerful in Washington, D.C. How does that happen?
how it happens is when you're not trying to make it happen. And when I moved, I left Louisville, Kentucky, and I was actually studying at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. But what I wanted to do was, one, mass communication. I understood the art of it, but I was an opera singer. So I moved to New York from Louisville, Kentucky, and I was in the city that never slept. And it was probably the most vivacious time of that city was with the years that I was there. After this was pre-COVID, obviously. But I was not seeking what I was doing now. But what I look back now and realize, all of that shaped me to be what I am right now because of the fight it is to survive and thrive in New York City. A city, I always explain New York like this to people. Everybody that was at the top of their game in their small little cities all moved to New York City to fight to be the top of whatever game that they were going. So everybody's just hustling, and it's expensive, and you're trying your best just to fight to be where you're at. And so because of that, and having to be crafty and survive, and at the time I thought I was going to be a performer, but that's not what my life was going to be. I started working with different very powerful people who trusted me with either teaching their kids music or helping them figure out a solution. And from there is I just started learning the art of trade and fixing problems. Because if anybody's trying to be successful, when you're in a startup, there's always a lot of problems, but it's a very small team, right? And so you have to be the jack of all trades. So you got to figure out the internet. You got to figure out how to raise capital. You got to figure out how to, bootstrap the success. And so I would just pick up the problems and go figure them out. And they'd say, just figure it out, figure out how to fix this. So I would do that. And I always had a passion for politics in a sense. I was a Republican. I thought everybody was growing up because my father was, and I lived in a small town on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and we would talk about politics at the dinner table pretty regularly. And so my parents were very politically active. So that was always in my background, but really it was just, my parents always said, we knew you would be very good at whatever drove you because you're so relentless in your passions. So even if it's just one simple thing of like, I'm going to build this house, we knew that you would be the best house builder that there would ever be, because when you're passionate about something, you are relentless in making it happen. So I learned a lot of that in New York City, just learning how to work in corporations and fight to, get my ideas, implemented in the company, or, fight to be the best marketer or whatever. That's how I originally learned it.
Well, I probably failed the New York game. I went out there one time for 2 weeks, thought I'd move there permanently. I was going to go make it in the big city, be an actor. So I move out there. I ride the subway a couple times, got, I wouldn't say, jumped, but seemingly close to it a couple times in like 2 weeks. And it was just buildings as tall as you could see. You couldn't even see the sun. It was just buildings and hustle and bustle. And I'm from, space.
Yeah.
And then when I almost got jumped a couple times on the subway, I just thought, dude, I'm getting out of here. So I pussed out and left. I was there 2 weeks.
I was there for almost 8 years.
Yeah. Well, you're tougher than I was, because I got the hell out of there. But so after that, you started learning this stuff, and now you're like a female Ray Donovan. You get called when shit hits the fan, and there's some serious shit going down.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you're getting Tory Lanez handled.
Yeah. Now,
the Tory Lanez story is crazy. I can't believe that they would even throw him in jail for that.
There's been a lot of problems that I fixed before Tory. And so you were asking about how I got with the Tory situation is when I was in Congress, I was a part of helping pass the criminal justice reform, the first STEC act under the president. And that's not a Republican issue. That's a very Democrat issue. And Republicans are actually the ones who, in my opinion, make most sense to fix, because we are very compassionate. We have a faith-driven part of us, but we want the government to be less in people's lives, and we believe in law and order. And so, that partnered with many other things that makes it actually more believable that we would do. So from that, being a part of criminal justice reform with the American Conservative Union and the president, et cetera, I started getting into an industry where a lot of people would come to me because they had problems and they understood that I knew where to go to fix those problems high up within DOJ or anywhere. I just had relationships and I tried to develop as many as I could. So with the Tory Lanez situation, it's interesting because I didn't go looking for that. It found me because of some other people that I had helped that came to me. And when I looked over his situation, this is what I tell everyone. I wasn't a fan of Tory Lanez. I didn't listen to his music. I wasn't a fangirl. And I'm really not a fangirl of many musicians. I respect people's craft, but I don't worship that. And so when I started looking over the evidence of that case, it was just maddening. I didn't even know him, and I felt so mad that what had happened to him. His fingerprints are not on the gun. He is 100% exonerated from the magazine on the gun. And the case, we could go on this for days. I encourage people to go to 36hourslater.com. We've put it all up there. But he was completely railroaded by the system. And it almost looked purposeful just because of his celebrity and who he was. And he was a part, at that time, the Me Too, George Floyd stuff was going on in the country. And he was an easy target and they just wanted to toss him away. And I look at that and it doesn't make any sense to me. It breaks my heart because I don't know how in this country, we have the greatest Justice Department in the world compared to other countries. It's not perfect. But when you watch this deliberately injustice, they just took this man's life and put him in prison for 10 years.
Why do you think there's a group of people that want to do that? And who wants him in prison for 10 years? I
think that, there's some things that I can say and some things that I can't because this is an active situation. And we are actively, working to get him out of prison. And there are a lot of people high up that do believe him, right? And so I'm not going to say too much right now, and I'll come back on when it happens and we'll tell the whole story. And maybe we'll tell it too. But what I know is that when politics gets involved, everything goes to hell. In the justice system. If you're looking at things based on the merit of a case, I believe our system, yes.
That's why I say government instead of politics, but same thing.
Yeah.
Like when the government gets involved in a lot of things, in most cases, it gets complicated and then it's political. And then someone's trying to be elected and then someone needs to and they don't realize that real people are being affected here.
Yeah.
The people that we technically put you there. And now you're acting like we're just cattle. And I honestly do believe that we are cattle. Like the government should make us their customer, but we are their product. See, I think we should be the customer, right?
Yeah,
the citizens, we the people.
Because you're 100% right, and that's why I think our system. That's why I think Donald Trump got elected. Was because of that very sentiment that you feel, except for now our system is too big and it is a money-making machine. And that is not what the Justice Department was supposed to be. You're supposed to have a swift and just trial. And part of it being swift is, because they don't want you to have to sit here for years and linger and spend millions of dollars. No, not anymore. The justice is not swift. And rarely do you find that you're being convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. Now it's like, there's all the backroom deals being negotiated. It's a money-making machine, which makes me angry because the only person getting rich are those who are actually prosecuting you and your attorneys and the judge and everybody else. Everybody else is getting rich. But the very people who are actually caught in the system become the victims and bankrupt in some sense. And then you add the press on top of it, which is devastating because then you're not just fighting the system, you're fighting the court of public opinion at the same time, and your life is ruined. Period. To most people.
Especially when you work so hard. I can only imagine Tory's, career took a lot of work.
Yeah.
To get where he got.
Came from nothing.
But the story I heard was simple. Like supposedly he shot, what's her name? Megan Stallion. In the foot. Well, that's called an accident. Like even if he did do it, that's an accident. There's been people that got less time for straight up murdering somebody. Like why would an accidental gunshot even if he did it, warrant 10 years in prison.
Well,
it's a shot in the foot. Number one, it was an accident. I mean, and not only that, what you're saying is you look at the evidence, he didn't even do it. His fingerprints went on the gun. There's evidence that he didn't do it, just he's being railroaded because someone wanted to make a case out of it.
And actually, what I think is really important is, besides the nitty-gritty of what the story is, the evidence is all I care about. The noise is always the noise, but the evidence speaks for itself. Not only that, in the beginning of that case, the original prosecutor was not going to prosecute that case because there wasn't enough evidence. But lo and behold, the politics, just like we said, got involved. And there was a prosecutor, Cascone, who was running for DA in California. Re-election, very unpopular. Crime soared in LA during his leadership. And the people were tired of it. So he was losing his election, and somebody got to him and he pursued that case. And Mr. Soft on Crime became Mr. Really hard on crime against Tory Lanez. And not only that, why he's in prison for 10 years is actually the real scandal, apart from being convicted with very little evidence. But for a crime like that, he got convicted for an unregistered gun, handling an unregistered gun. Okay. Well, the gun was not his. So he got convicted for someone else's gun, but we won't go into that. But long story short, for a crime like that, really, it's about 2 to 5 years, but really 2. But the Mr. Soft on Crime, who then became Mr. Hard on Crime during the election because he was losing to a guy named Nathan Hochman, who is now the DA. He was an independent, a little bit more right-leaning in LA, which is actually a huge deal that he got elected. But then Gascone decided when he was running for election that he was anti-gun enhancement, meaning they added an enhancement onto his charge. He was anti-gun enhancement. He said it was racist. I mean, he ran around campaigning on that. But now Mr. Soft on Crime became Mr. Hard on Crime and Mr. Pro gun enhancement. He originally told everybody that gun enhancement were not only just racist, but they were reserved for violent criminals and gang members. Well, Tory Lanez had 0 criminal record and he was not a violent person, and they added a gun enhancement onto his charge, and that's what gave him 10 years. And there is no basis for that. So that ultimately is what we believe will get him out, is that, regardless of all the other facts, which are pretty damning, the no fingerprints, all these things, the fact of the punishment does not meet the crime, and that ultimately is why he should be released today. And they're unable to keep him safe in prison. He got stabbed 14 times
already.
So that's what broke this entire case back to the public.
Go.
Tory, someone who is being considered for a pardon or a commutated sentence right now and has an active, pretty successful appeal right now. 0 problems in prison, got along with everybody, has a foundation called Hands of Hope where he funds, because, he's a man of means with his success. He's funding a lot of people's cases right now who can't afford attorneys for appeals and all. And he's had a successful one just the other week. So this guy is in prison, recorded 2 albums. I mean, he's doing great. Okay. No enemies. He's a black man in the Mexican side of the prison, which there's a war going on within these prisons. So that's a significant thing. He just doesn't have any issues. He went from not having any issues to stretching outside of his cell and getting stabbed 14 times, 27 strikes. And they stabbed him in the back of the head and his face and his lungs. His lungs collapsed. Went from having 0 problems to overnight almost dying in prison. And that's what kind of busted this open, because we felt like that the timing of that was not coincidental. And it was very clear that they're not able to keep him safe. So they've moved him, but he almost died. And so a man who was innocent in prison was going to lose his life for that. And that's what's really ignited a fire, I think, with the people around the nation, actually the world. A lot of people started following this case. But I was already on it before that. And now I'm even more eager because I don't want this man dying.
Now, you have spoken with him, obviously, multiple times.
I do. I speak with him every day.
Are you able to tell us his version of the story?
I can't tell you his version yet because he's actually never come out and told his version, and I want him to be able to tell that. I think that's fair. It's not my story to tell. It's his. But we have laid it out pretty aggressively on 36hourslater.com, a website, and it doesn't do it justice just me telling it. You need to look at the video footage.
Well, where was he?
What do you mean?
Where was he the night of the incident?
He was in the vehicle.
But before that?
Kylie Jenner's house.
Kylie Jenner's house.
Yeah.
They're all doing what there?
Just hanging out, drinking.
Just hanging out, having fun, drinking, partying, having a good time.
Yeah.
And everyone's getting along fine.
Yeah.
And then they get in the car to go where? Somewhere else?
Just to leave for the night.
Take off. Kylie's house.
Yeah. She wasn't there.
Has she been brought into it?
No, because she doesn't enjoy it.
Oh, she didn't witness it. So they're driving in the car, and then a scuffle happens, and next thing you know, he's in prison.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much...
For 10 years.
For 10 years. For something that they weren't going to pursue from the beginning.
Not only that,
no evidence.
Wasn't he like dating Megan or something?
They definitely had a relationship. That was public. That's public knowledge.
I know, but like, they're dating. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, see, when it doesn't make sense, it's because something stinks. That's why.
And a lot of people's hands are involved in this too. Yeah. And that's what makes it, it'd be one thing if it was cut and dry, but when you see the manipulation of evidence, the suppression of evidence, the gun was sealed, all these things, none of it. I mean, the body cam footages that we've released, which tell the story on body cam, multiple body cams. And yet this man is sitting in prison. And it's like, how did this happen?
What the body cams weren't allowed?
No, they were, but they basically, it was like, what you see is not what you see. Houdini is what I call this case. It's the craziest thing. It's like someone says something, but then they say, oh, no, what you see and what you heard is not what you see and what you heard. That's actually not it at all. And you're like, wait, what? What type of gaslighting is happening right now? Because what I see and what I heard and what the doctor says is all the same thing, but yet you say this is not it.
Yeah, or they say like the jury's not allowed to take that into consideration.
Yes, correct.
Like, what do you mean? Like, it's so stupid.
The way that they hocus pocus these courtrooms and they prance around in general, I think. I mean, this is not just his case in general, but these are trial attorneys who are like, they're just skilled actors in a sense. They're very good at just telling these stories and manipulating. And then they use just certain functions in the way that the court runs to get things thrown out, or, it's just wild to me. You can't just, if the merits of the case were the actual case, most people that are in prison wouldn't be there. But they mostly get hung up on these little, like small little clauses or stipulations or, loopholes. That's what gets people end up locked away, or these
like
small
the RICO
little things.
Act was set up to get, I think, Capone because they couldn't get him on the normal, without loopholes. So they set up this RICO Act to get him. I think it was him. And now they use the RICO Act to like ensnare a bunch of people that technically aren't really illegal, but
they loop it all into one thing.
They just find these little loopholes. Like my favorite one is you knew or should have known. Yeah. So like if you're the CEO of this company and there's somebody dealing cocaine out of your office, and they want to bust you, you're busted. Yeah. And they're going to say that you knew or should have known. It doesn't matter if you did. You did, you should have. And again, like that's a loophole. Like, but I didn't.
And then if you didn't do that, they'll just get you on taxes.
Yeah, or something else.
Because somehow, somewhere find me a perfect person, well, you won't find one. And so they're going to, if they can't get you on that, then you notice what they'll do is, Tory's situation too, they'll just tack on 5, 6, 7 other things, do a press release then that says, oh, this grandos were indicted for 36 counts, like the president of the United States, prime example, which, let's go to that really quick. Let's not forget in New York, they had to change the statute of limitations to go after the president of the United States. If that doesn't tell you that we have massive problems in our system, if you're not convinced and you watch that happen, they indicted and charged him and convicted him for something that happened a very long time ago. And in order to make it happen, they had to go into the state legislature and change the rules to go after him specifically. And they allowed that to happen. And that was a president of the United States. So if that can happen to him, imagine how screwed every other American is. And this is now what we're watching. And the same thing happened to Tory Lanez, a man of means, a celebrity. And if they were able to lock him away for 10 years and he had the means to fight with attorneys, imagine everybody else who doesn't have those. And that's what people like me exist for, is I'm not afraid. So what? You're going to expose me for something that you think is embarrassing? I don't give a crap, because...
What would that be?
I mean, I think that when you're a fighter, you're never you're gonna piss off someone in life.
Yeah, but what would be embarrassing that you would be worried about?
I mean, nothing right now, because I feel like all my secrets in life are out anyways. So you can just Google me, and I'm sure you'll find something that I don't like. But I think in general, I don't really have anything. I'm not a crook, and I'm not out here scamming people, so I sleep well at night. So for me, it doesn't bother me. I think that's why I'm uniquely able to do it, because I'm not hiding anything. But there are a lot of people who probably would be very scared to go out and fight because they would be humiliated. And I don't make my money in life off of the public perception of me either. I take on clients and I fight. But, I have my own money and my own means. And so I don't have to worry about being bankrupted. And that's another thing. I think a lot of people are afraid to take on machines because they would be afraid of being sued, or they would be afraid of canceled. Cancel me. Cancel me from what? I don't care. I just don't. And so a lot of people in life would never be willing to take on the giants because they would be afraid of being taken out. And for me, my father died last year, and I had a major shift in my own life because I realized from there that all of this means nothing. Because when you're gone and you're in a casket, people usually move on very quickly, right? And so I realized, at this point, I only want to do what makes me happy, and one that I find purpose in, that I'm actually using my skill sets every day. And I care deeply about those that I fight for. And so if somebody comes to me and I feel like that the system has railroaded them and they need someone with a voice and someone who is not afraid to pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, Secretary, Attorney General, or whoever, I don't care. I'm not going to, kiss the ring. I'm going to say, we've got a serious problem here, and this person is seriously being railroaded, and we can either fix this, or I'm just going to go to the press and talk about it, or we're just going to talk about it in general. But this is serious, and I'm just not afraid to do that.
So which business of yours does that?
Well, both similarly. So my crisis communication firm, which is the secret weapon agency, that is more of strategic communications, the stuff that we do for Tory, which is putting teams together to solve a serious problem, dealing with the media, that's what we do with crisis communication, strategic communication. And then my other agency, which is more of my business, it's a global strategies firm, which is actually what I love doing at the same time. So I work with, people from all the way from crypto conglomerates down to, foreign leaders that may want to do business with, companies here in the United States, heads of states, just all different type of people. So those are more global strategies when they're strategizing for maybe problems that they're having, or maybe relationships that they want to have within the United States. I'll come in and we'll put together a plan, but most of it leads with relations and communications, because I ultimately believe that in any situation, communication is the most important tool that we can leverage to have wins for businesses, but also for countries at the same time.
Well, I'm certain that there's a lot of people listening that probably are thinking, I need her. Because there's a lot of people ensnared. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people out there being crooks too, but how do you choose who you help? Do you look at all the evidence and?
Yeah. So this is my process. I get a lot. I am, every day my phone rings constantly with people who have problems. And I always tell everybody the same thing. I'm a case by case basis. Because I don't just, I take it so personally, and I put everything, I put literally every part of me into any person that I'm helping. So when they come to me, they know that I'm going to fight till the end with them. When it's not popular, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to be right there with you. So I keep that in mind when I take on things. One, my process is I want to look at all the evidence. I want to see everything, good, bad, all of it. Because if I can read as a layperson, I'm not an attorney, but I work with a lot of attorneys, and it helps me because I'm not looking at that as a legal mind. I'm looking at it as a common sense, right? Yeah. I want to read from A to Z. So I look through everything, and then I talk to that person. And if I believe that person, or if I want to help that person, or if it's a business and I love their idea and I see the vision, because I'm a visionary, I'm a strategist. So when I'm looking at you, if it already starts coming to mind and I'm like, oh, I see this. I see the end goal. I know what's going to happen. Then I know that's my client because I'm already invested. Even if there's not a dollar exchange, most of the time I do half the stuff for free because most people who are coming to me don't have the means to be able to do it, but I see it and I feel it. And I'm like, we'll worry about that down the road. Let's just get this fixed because I know the solution right now. I know exactly who to call. So let's do it. But most of the time I need to see it. I need to believe it. And then I need to see those around that I can put the team together to solve it. And but using my process is just very simple. And I want to verify too. And one thing Tory will tell you is I am his harshest critic in the beginning. I picked that case apart left and right. I took days to read over that. I called every attorney that I knew that was some of Trump's attorneys, some of the best attorneys in the country that are friends of mine. And I said, I want you to read this over. Just take a look. Give me your thoughts. Pick it apart and tell me if you think this is ridiculous that I'm getting involved in. But I believe this guy. And so I need you to tell me why I shouldn't. And they all came back to me and they said, we think he's innocent. And I said, I do too. So, I pick it all apart. I ask the toughest questions. And I always tell them, I'm like, your biggest weakness, back to going in, like what you're afraid of, I only will get upset or nervous if I don't feel prepared or if the information wasn't correct and I look like an idiot. And so because I've had that happen before, I've had, as you grow in this industry, you maybe trust people and then you learn who you should trust and who you shouldn't, but trust but verify, right? So if I just tell them, I don't want to be embarrassed and I don't want to say something incorrect so that this falls apart and our credibility is shot. You tell me everything. I want to know where the bodies are buried. I want to know everything because I can only fix this if we know it all. And if I know the truth and I know everything, then we can get this solved. We can figure it out. So that's what I expect from my clients. And again, I don't just fix problems of people in trouble. If people have business solutions and they want to engage the government and they're like, hey, I've got a really good idea and this fits right within the Trump administration on, cutting waste or healthcare solutions. And they talk to me and I just so happen to know people that are within health and human services or whatever, the agriculture, just connections in general. Then I'll say, oh, you know what? I actually know the person here. And that's a part of President Trump's agenda. Let's put the plan together. Let's put the memo together. Let's draft it up. Let's send it up. Let's get the meeting set. So that's also problem solving. It's not just
here's
legal.
Something that will cut costs in the government if you want it.
All right,
Number
let's
one,
do it.
Go see how much money they spend training people on all kinds of crap. Okay? Because it's ridiculous amount of money. And I have a software that can do it for, name it. I'll say a tenth. Whatever they're spending, give me a tenth and I'll deliver all of that training way better than they're doing it. Because I've got the training platform. I went to the government once. They made me hire this lobbyist group.
Yep.
It's a whole machine out there.
It's a machine.
Yeah. So I had to pay this lobbyist group, which made no sense, but they got me some meetings. And then I went into the meetings and I blew everyone's mind. It was the Homeland Security, Director of Homeland Security, I think.
What administration was this under? Obama or Trump?
I don't even remember. It was a while back.
Okay.
I wonder who it was. I'd have to look that up and see.
Yeah, because that's so interesting. It's a hard process. That's why.
Yeah, but I was walking around D.C. and, they brought me into not the White House, where the Congress.
DOJ?
No, the Congress.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about in the Congress?
Chambers. Yeah, you walk by, there's the senator for Nevada. And
okay, yeah. So you were in the House. You were over
the House.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around and these guys are plugged in. This Washington lobbyists.
The lobbyists.
I think they were called the Washington Group.
Okay.
But they would hook up these meetings, and I went in and I blew all their minds, and every one of them said, "Dude, how can you get? We want this. Are you on the GSA schedule?" And I'm like, "What's the GSA schedule?" They're like, "You got to get on the GSA schedule." And every one of them kind of whispered, "Dude, this is amazing, but it's going to be too difficult trying to get this in here
appropriation
because all the nonsense." Yeah. And I was looking at the budgets that they were paying, and it's like, dude, the government was paying these budgets to train people on crap platform, crap content. And I'm like, dude, I could fix this. And they're all like, dude, we'd love for you to fix it, but you got to go get on the GSA schedule. And I went tried to go that whole route. And I finally got to a point where they said, I have to charge less than I've ever charged anybody. And if they ever audit me and I charge them more than I ever charged anybody else, like I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah. And the regulators on that. And you're right. I mean, compliance and
it was crazy.
And becoming a government contractor is a whole nother thing at the same time.
Well, that got declined.
Yeah.
So it did.
Yeah.
So did an SBA loan. So did everything else. So it was like a nightmare. And I said, you know what? Just keep your government business. And I went private. And fortunately, other people wanted the same platform. But if you're ever up there and everyone's talking about cutting costs, dude, say, I know a guy that'll deliver every bit of training you deliver for 1/10. Matter of fact, he'll do it for 1/20th.
Now. So that's what DOGE was all about. But that's not what it was, what it is all about. I mean, DOGE
what happened to Elon and Trump?
Oh, goodness. Well, it depends on what day you're talking about. In the beginning, it looked like, what the hell? You're right. What happened to them? And I was talking about this the other day. I had my initial thought on it was this. I thought that it was planned in the beginning. I think everybody did. I thought, okay, the stuff's going on with Israel. This was before what's happening now between Israel and Iran. The stuff with Israel and Palestine was really picking up. Things were getting a lot noisier, right? Trump, it seemed like Trump and Netanyahu were not on the same wavelength as they usually were. And Elon, what most people didn't realize, he was a special government employee anyway, so it's about 160 days. So he was on his way out. So I thought, okay, is this planned? Are things a little noisy? And the left is really picking up and boycotting Tesla, and his stocks were falling, and Tesla was losing money, and they wanted, if Trump doesn't win in the midterms, then it's like they're definitely going to try to impeach him, but they're going to try to investigate Elon too. So I saw the vision of probably what was going on. And so when it initially happened, I thought, okay, maybe they're doing this to kind of give him a little bit of coverage as he goes on his way out. Doesn't look like that, they're so entwined. They're not as BFF as everybody thought. Maybe people will give him a break. And then maybe they'll stop talking about Israel and they can kind of figure this stuff out. That was my initial thought. But then when he went nuclear with the whole Epstein list, I was like, I don't see the president being okay with this because of the base. The base is so, the Epstein list is a huge thing to the base. And people are convinced and upset because they've been told that there's a list of high profile people from all over the world, politicians from our country that maybe even still be serving in government that are on this list. And they wouldn't release it. And I thought, there's no way in heck that the president is going to at all allow someone to cause doubt in the mind of the base, the very base that will cover him through the midterms. So I didn't think that was planned.
Well, see, what I thought was that's a ruse. Mm-hmm. So people think that Elon dropped a bomb,
right? And
now the whole country would be demanding the list.
Yeah.
And then they'd have to release the list, and just so happens, oh look, his name ain't on there, but they are. It was almost like a trick to get everyone, because I don't understand who's got the power to determine they're not releasing the list. Again, we the people don't matter apparently, because if you ask we the people, we want the list. We want the whole damn list.
Yeah.
But from what I hear, you release that list, society collapses because all these powerful people have been doing some whacked out shit.
Well, and I think it proves to us that those that really are the figureheads are not the ones who are in charge.
That's what I keep saying. And they can't be, because again, I mean, if I were president and my name wasn't on that list, I'd say release the damn list.
Well, and I think that's why President Trump is their worst nightmare. I think that's why they fear him so much, is because he is a threat to their existence. For sure.
Because he's got his own money. He doesn't really care. And not only that, he likes the attention and the turmoil. He likes it. Don't they get that? But to me, I don't necessarily know just because your name's on the list means anything either. Because again, I'm a fair guy. Listen, I went to Necker Island.
Yeah.
Branson's name's on that list.
Yeah.
Well, now my name's on the list of Necker Island. So what happens all of a sudden? You find out some shit about Necker Island, and then they're like, give me the list. And my name's on the list. Dude, I was on the list. There was nothing going on there. There was it was a beautiful island. Yeah. I played chess with Richard Branson. I watched the launch of his Virgin Galactic air travel
yeah.
shit. And by the way, that's another thing with these flat earthers.
Oh God. I don't even get it. See, I'm a realist. So I don't speak a conspiracy. So I don't get the flat earth. I don't get all this stuff. I always tell people, I'm like, I don't even want to hear it.
Well, the flat earthers are saying, like, you know, the Bible, because they believe in the Bible, says there's a firmament over the earth. So they're saying that it's flat and you've never been to space and all that shit's fake. And then it shows some fake NASA footage, because that moon landing bullshit footage, that shit's fake as hell.
Did he kind of admit it? What's his name? One of the astronauts?
Well, not only the astronaut, but the guy that just died, the famous film producer, admitted it.
That's so.
What was his name?
I don't know.
The famous film producer. He was famous. I forget,
remember.
but he just died, and he said that he made that. That's all fake.
I mean,
Now, again, I never believe the media one way or the other. Why? Because I know the media lies. So you can't just do confirmation bias and believe what you want to believe because it said what you like to hear.
Yeah.
Like they'll say Trump's doing shitty. Trump's doing great. Well, which one's true? You don't know unless you're up there. You know what I mean?
And you know what? And this is what a lot of people, you know, I work in media too. You know, I'm a commentator on Newsmax and some other organizations. And so I understand. But what most people don't understand, which actually you probably understand more than most people, is that by the time you're hearing about it, it is way old news. Whatever's already happened weeks ago. They're just telling you now because it's like a big old psyop. I mean, really, it's whatever they're focusing on at the moment to distract from whatever. But if you're hearing about it right now, it's very rarely happening right now. And so I don't even watch television. I don't. I mean, I watch, you know, I follow social media. I have my certain outlets that I look at information, but I'm the type of person that I'm going to go to the experts that I feel like actually do know what's going on. And I'm going to say, what do you think about what's going on with Israel? What do you think about what's going on? Tell me what I'm not understanding. What do you think the play is here? You know, because my phone's ringing off the hook right now. People have been asking me to come on to talk about Israel and Iran. And I don't know enough to feel like that I'm an expert in this. You know, I'm not a foreign policy guru. But this is what I tell people. I voted for Donald Trump, and I know what drives that man. And that man does not want war. He wants peace and he wants prosperity. And so I can't think of a better person at this time in history to be taking on these problems, because he is not a war hawk and he doesn't want innocent people dying. So he's going to do everything within his power to avoid the very thing that they're trying to push him in. And if we get to that point, it's because there was no other solution. Because that man, you know, I mean, when they asked him about Ukraine, what did he kept saying? I want people to stop dying. He doesn't want war. He wants peace, and he wants people rich, and he wants our economy, and he's a prideful man. And that's what I voted for. And so I think that even today, if you watched him, you know, I don't know when this will air, but, you know, they're asking him, and I mean, he's tweeting out on his Twitter, like, you made the wrong choice about, you know, make a deal. He wants to make a deal. He's giving them the opportunity. The airwaves are clear. We know where you're at. We know where you're hiding. Like, what other leader would do that? They wouldn't. They would use the media, manipulate things, and he's just going straight to the press, and he's giving them an opportunity publicly to do the right thing to avoid war. But also, I think what he looks at is saying he wants everybody to know that he exhausted all options on peace, and he gave them an opportunity to go to peace. And right now nothing's happened. So I still think that we're going to be at peace, quite frankly. I think it's all a part of the tactic of getting them to the table, embarrassing them.
Well, even if we didn't, you know, I would believe what you just said. I don't think he wants it. I think if it happens, it's because there's no other had option. To happen. But I can also tell business owners that might be worried, because I listen to a lot of these business owners talking about, I don't know, man, we might be at war. I should save money. Why will money help you if they're at war? Like, how's money going to help you?
Not going to help you at all.
It's not going to do anything. Like, at the end of the day, you can't control everything over there, just like you can't control what happens in the government. People say, well, yeah, you can vote. Aha. Well, you already did that. Okay. Yeah. And so thank God Donald Trump is in the building, because if it were the Kamala Harris, are you kidding me?
It'd be the same 4 years.
No, if it was Kamala Harris in that building, I would be scared.
Oh no, so I'm saying
I wouldn't even be scared of war. I'd be scared of her being in the presidency.
But it'd be the same people that were running his former, you know, Biden's administration running her at the same time. because he clearly wasn't in charge.
Well, again, I think, honestly, I'm not a conspiracy guy.
Mm-hmm.
I listen. I do think that election was stolen. Like, dude, Biden.
Well, look at Kash Patel this week.
Biden couldn't gather a crowd of frickin' 1,000 people.
Yeah.
He shuffled around and mumbled and didn't say shit. Now you're telling me that he got more votes in the history of the world than every other president in the United States ever.
Yeah.
Bullshit, dude. Nobody cared if it was Joe Biden.
I think there's enough evidence to prove that.
Donald Trump won that shit. And in the middle of the night, and by the way, I've seen videos, and that's why I always wondered when the left's crying. It's like, didn't you see the same videos I saw? Because I don't know if that happens. I think
no, you did not see what you saw.
Yeah, they send videos. They send videos to one side, and then they send videos to another. They both could be doctored for all we know. I think they want us divided, and it's not the people in the government seats, though. It's the people controlling the government is who wants us divided. Because if we ever get together and unify and become we the people again, because we're not we the people anymore.
Yeah.
So when you read the Constitution and it says we the people, that's supposed to be who's technically in charge. Well, if we can't communicate and we can't prove that we communicated, then how do you prove that we want anything? But the government, they can prove it. They have their meetings, they get their stamps, and they go, look, this is law. We agreed. You elected us, but we can't communicate that way.
Yeah.
I was going to write a movie one day, and it was going to be about some guy invents a program where we, the people, can come back together, like a social media app, where I could ask, hey, who voted for Trump? And it'd go, and you'd see, everybody would tell you who they voted for. And hey, wait a minute, how did he win when 81% said they didn't? Then you start to see this corruption, but then a black helicopter would come out of the sky and you'd be done. So you literally spend your whole days fixing problems.
Yeah, all
You're
day.
a fixer.
All day, every day.
How would you fix the government?
Oh gosh, that's
Is it even possible?
I think that we're trying now to start chipping away at the fundamental things that will help fix the government. But I do believe that term limits.
That's one, like, obvious.
Well, because you think about it. Part of what is the problem in Congress is you get in there and the system is so entrenched with bureaucrats. And that's another thing. Unelected bureaucrats are the ones running the show. Hence, you need a lobbyist to get things done, because you get there and nobody understands. So they're looking at the lobbyist with the attorneys and they're saying, okay, it's a great idea, but he has to go through this cycle and he's got to go through this funding cycle and how do we fit it into this? And nobody,
which is equal to saying he's got to pay all these people first.
Exactly. You're right. So first of all would be term limits. These people need to get in there. They need to have a certain amount of years with a certain agenda to get done. And that's what they got. And then they're done. And then that way, what happens is they get in here. I mean, if you notice, you look at Congress people who the first years that they're in Congress, the first year, they're on fire. And then all of a sudden they look like every other swamp creature. And you know why? Matt Gaetz talks about this. Paid. Well, listen, there's a price on them. And for lobbyists to meet with that congressperson, there is a price of how much that meeting cost. And they have a little piece of paper that they're given about their price. Matt Gaetz talks about this with McCarthy, that big falling out with. But that's why Matt said, you know what, I'm not taking $1 of this special interest group. I'm tired of these people thinking that they own us. I'm making decisions off of what my constituents in the panhandle sent me here to do. And I'm not going to care about what the special interest groups and the lobbyists are paying me to make that decision for the people paying them. So
where's he at now?
He is not in Congress anymore. He has his own show on OAN.
He should be running for president.
Well, he was supposed to be attorney general.
Yeah, we need people like that in the buildings, in the seats.
But listen, they try to take him down. And again, the swamp is a nasty creature, but I think we need to listen. I think Gaetz could be president one day.
You think it could be fixed? Because don't you have to go through them to fix it? And they're the ones that technically get to decide?
It depends on the day that you ask me that question. But today, I'll say this. I am an optimist at heart. Always. I always think that, I'm a fixer, right? And so part of being a fixer is that you do believe that you can solve the problem, and you're optimistic about life in general. And I think that we have the greatest country in the world. And what makes this country so great is the people in this country, like you and everyone else, who are like the salt of the earth, who employ people and come to work every day to build corporations and to have a great family and to provide opportunity for those who want to come and work with you and see your vision. That is what makes our country so great. It's not our government. It's the people that actually elect those to put in the government. And so years ago, before Trump, I would have said, oh, I don't know if this can be fixed. I think this thing is going to have to be blown up and redone, because I just don't know how we fix this. And I was young, and I'm still young. I'm only 38. But now I look at it and I think, yes, it can be fixed, because the American people have caught on to the act of the abuse and what they've done to us in our country. And they've had enough. And they're just starting by electing President Trump, and they're not going to stop, because they're raising generations of people now that are under this America First, under this umbrella of patriotism, of, you see that more. And so now we've got a whole young generation of people under us who are more in tune to the government and what's happening. And that's what it's going to take. This is a long ball. If you look at China and you look at these other communist countries, there's an amount of respect, though, that you do have to have for these people, for these governments. They don't play short term like we do. They play long ball. So everything that they're doing, they're thinking generations and generations and generations, right? Our country has to start thinking that way too. The decisions that we make today, we need to be thinking, what does this do 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road for our kids and our generation? And we're thinking like that now. And so I do think that it can be fixed. I do. But ultimately, it's because I'm a believer. And my faith is not in the government, it's in God. And I believe that the Lord directs those in our country to make the decisions that we make. And that's what drives me. So if I didn't have faith in God, I think there's no way in hell this will ever be fixed. But I do believe.
Did you get that from your seminary, your theological studies?
Before that, I was saved in college. Yeah, I was a music major. I was an opera singer, but I grew up in a family where both of my grandparents, my mom's side, were very, I wouldn't say religious people. They were Christians. They were believers. So it was kind of instilled at a young age. But in college, I was saved in the music department there. And I went on to, I think actually that's what's made me effective in my career, is that I move with a mind frame of higher and higher power here, of a Christian, of Jesus. And so when I'm making these decisions, is built on integrity, on what's right. So back to when you asked me what I do when people come to me, I always say, if it's the right thing to do, then I don't care if it's controversy or not. Because I don't know about you, but if you're being targeted or if you've got a problem, but it's the right thing, you would hope that people would join you and to help you make that happen, or to fix your problem. Because if we stand up for what's right, then we don't have anything to worry about. I'll give you a little tidbit on Diddy. I know that's a really hot topic that you even asked about and you wouldn't even know. I'm sure you're following the Diddy situation, right?
I know about it. I don't really follow drama. Yeah. Only because, listen, I know that I don't know. Yeah. And if you don't know, you're just choosing to believe whatever you hear. Yeah. Diddy's this and Diddy's that. Diddy, well, apparently he did.
Did he not?
but I don't know. I mean, it could be there's someone out to get his ass. Yeah. It literally could be a big, powerful person, spun some shit, paid off the right people, and his ass is a pawn. Yeah. That could be the case. Now, not saying that it is, but that's why I don't follow, because it's like, you don't know the truth, man. You weren't there. Yeah. And if you don't know the truth, what do you care? I don't follow it, but I do. I'm aware of what's going on with Diddy. Yes, ma'am.
So for
me, did he do Bieber?
Oh God, I would hope not. I would hope not. That's the kind of stuff that
I know. You know, I like Justin Bieber.
I do too.
Like when you hear him talk to the paparazzi that's just pestering him.
Well, what they're doing to him now is
he's just so criminal. Cool about it. He's like, hey, man, come on. If you want a picture, take a picture, brother. Yeah. But can you leave my wife alone? Like, he's cool talking to these people.
But now they're saying because he's not playing ball with them anymore. And you see what TMZ is doing to him and the media. I mean, they're tearing this guy apart. They're literally trying to bring him into a conservatory. They say he's lost his mind. That's what Hollywood does when they can't control you anymore. That's the problem. It's government and it's all the powers to be that people that are very wealthy and have the means and have bought off the media and the private equity companies that they deal with, and they can control your whole life. That's when these people, I mean, you saw like he stopped playing ball with them and now they call him crazy. They did the same thing to Kanye. I'm not getting into the controversies of what these people say, but it's the same playbook. They did that to Trump. But why I'm talking about Diddy is this. You know, as someone who has a reputation of helping people that are controversial, right? I was approached. But I always tell them the same thing. I want to be on the right side of the issue. I don't want to be on the side. I don't want to fix something just because there's a lot of money on the table to fix it. No. I sleep good at night because when I do choose to help people, it's because I know it's the right thing to do. And with the Diddy situation, you know, there was an opportunity to help, but I can't look at that and feel good about helping when you see a video that was just unforgivable in my sense. And that's not what he's being prosecuted for on the trial. It has nothing to do with that video. But for someone like me, not every situation that you get asked to fix them is worth fixing, right? And so that situation with him is, you know, it's very public, but that's another, that's
You're
just
talking about the
example.
one where he was beating up his girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? How's he going to explain that?
Well, you're right. I mean, he can't. Because that's what his attorneys are having a hard time with, because he's not on, most people don't realize he's not on trial for that video. He's on trial for racketeering. He's on trial for trafficking. There's a lot of other things, but they think he's on trial for that video. And they're making the entire trial about that video and about his sex acts, right? Well, that's not what he's being prosecuted for. So it's a very interesting situation to watch, because he could very well get off by the mere fact of what they're asking them to prosecute him on. They actually have not been able to produce a lot of evidence for. Instead, it's just been a very sensational O.J. Simpson type, not even though it doesn't include death, but you know, it's the same sensationalism that everybody's tuning into because it's just so raunchy. It's so gross, but yet it's like you want to cover your eyes, but you're like, oh, I don't want to look at it, but whoa, this is so crazy. I can't believe this is happening, you know? And so that situation is interesting. But yeah, I was asked to participate and maybe helping. And I declined, not because, again, I don't know a lot of the facts of the case, but for me, I always want to be on the right side where I feel really good about doing what I do. And if somebody gets off, it's because they absolutely deserved it, not just because you got a lot of talented people who know how to spin the narrative and do it. That's what, in my opinion, what discredits the system. And I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of doing the right thing.
Yeah, a new sound effect. That's good, though, because, again, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money that do bad shit, and all they do is pay and get their way out. That's not cool either. It should be based on, you know, the government made a mistake. You were prosecuted incorrectly. You didn't do it. Let them out. Yeah. It's just like fair. If they did do it and they got a lot of money and they can pay the right people, not necessarily. Yeah. But when you look at prisoners, you know, they get put in these prisons, which are dangerous places. You could literally get more crimes against you because you have to survive in there.
Yeah.
So, like, you're lucky you don't get involved. Because when you go in there, dude, it's prison politics. Yeah. Now you got your own rules in there. And dude, it don't matter who you are. When you get thrown in there, you're in those politics. So it's like the prison reform is definitely needed. There's guards bringing in drugs and hustling.
Well, let me tell you this. I mean, you want to get me fired up. I'm going to tell you what has made me the most angry about this Tory Lanez situation. I went into this obviously knowing about prison reform and a lot of different things, but the very people that convicted this guy, villainized him, made him into a demon, are the very people that are profiting off of him every day in prison. So they take this guy's life away, and then while he sits in there for 10 years, they're making millions of dollars off of this guy. And you want to know how? Listen to this. First of all, when he got stabbed, the guards sold that video of him and also tried to sell it to him. So it gets released and the media paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for that video. In the same sense where they sold that video, they also gave the guy who stabbed him, they gave him a platform and put it on TMZ and interviewed the guy. Somebody interviewed him and gave him, we're assuming it's like a cell phone, allegedly, gave him to him while he was in the hole after he had just tried to stab and kill Tory Lanez. They gave the guy a platform on television and aired it all on TMZ. This guy who stabbed him was a Mexican Mafia gang member. He went to prison for brutally murdering his 13-year-old, raping and murdering his 13-year-old girlfriend. He shot her in the face with a gun. And he's in prison, okay? There's nothing that this guy could say that I would ever care about at this point, versus Tory, who didn't have a criminal. So this guy who stabbed him, they give him a platform while Tory is laying in a hospital in California fighting for his life. TMZ releases an interview of this guy who stabbed him and allowed that guy to tell everybody that he felt threatened for his life, that he heard from others in the jail that Tory had a hit out for him, and that he had a knife in his pocket, and that he felt like Tory was going to stab him. In the meantime, Tory could potentially be getting out of prison or by a pardon or commutated sentence or a successful appeal. He has everything at this point to lose. Why would he even care about this idiot that tried to stab him? So that's happening. He's fighting for his life. TMZ is profiting off of the sensation of Tory stabbing. Then they're profiting off of the guy telling his story and giving him a platform for thousands of people to think that somehow, wait, hold on, Tory Lanez, the victim, is now actually the perpetrator, who was some random guy that, wanted to stab his next door neighbor that he had been in there for 2 years with and never had a problem with. But all of a sudden he's got a problem. And then it gets worse. They go, and then after he's back in, they had to move him to a different prison. Now he's back in there, and then they sell the video footage of him getting stabbed, and they're profiting off of that too. And then the very people then try to sell it to him personally and hassle him for $500,000 for a video that they had already sold to the media. And then,
why don't they sell the Epstein video?
Yeah, no kidding. But so this is what made me so angry. Because I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You put this man in jail, the media. They assisted in the taking of the life of this man, stripping him away from his young child and his family just for their gain. And they profited off of that. They never got to tell a story because they gagged him. So the justice system failed him. The media helped lock him away and villainize him, and then yet they're making millions of dollars off of him as he sits in prison, and they print stories about him and the sensationalism between him and other artists. And that is the type of stuff that makes me so angry, because it is not right, and so many people in our system are targeted by that too, and it's not right.
Walk us through the first 24 hours of a crisis.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, first 24 hours of a crisis are important for the mere fact of you're either going to escalate that crisis and make it unsolvable, or you're going to mitigate it, get it to the point where, you understand, one, it's a lot of noise, but what's the strategy, and actually what are we fighting? So the first 24 hours are to de-escalate and to find all of your demons. So who's after us? What's going on, what the actual problem is, what's going to happen. Is it an indictment or is it a media scandal? What's the actual problem? And then that's what you got to figure out in the 24 hours. And the noise, I always tell people, turn your phones off, disconnect, because the noise is what will cause you to jump off that balcony. Everything is solvable. It's not worth, killing yourself, because a lot of people, when they come to me, sometimes it's dire, like they're going to lose their business, or we could talk about stories one day when I write a book and talk about all the problems. But the first 24 hours are crucial, because it's actually not the problem, it's the people in the problem. And so they need to understand that this is solvable. And the only way we're going to solve it is if you got to stop thinking about your emotions, and you got to start putting your critical thinking on. And we have to think about the strategy and the plan. And once you get a plan together, then everybody usually starts to calm down, and it becomes manageable. But right then it's just so noisy. It just seems not manageable. But then once you break it down to really actually what's going on, it's usually manageable.
So how did you learn this?
It's actually a very natural gift. And so, yes, I've learned the skills through conflict, through experience, meaning working with people, solving problems, taking on problems. But when I was young, all my friends would come to me when they had problems, because even though I was an emotional person, meaning I cared, I was actually more emotionally mature. I could look at things objectively. My parents were not very emotional. They would always say, "Oh, this is just drama, Diana. Like, that's just not even a problem. You need to do this." So as a kid, and as I think it's just my natural gift to want to help people when they come to me and to just figure out the problem. And my parents always said to me, "You're not afraid to talk to anyone or ask anyone for anything." So if I like, my little sister is terrified to even order pizza. So as a kid, she wouldn't even pick up the phone and order pizza. I'm like, "What do you think? What's the worst I'm going to tell you? No, you can't order the pizza. It's not available." I'm like, "What are you afraid of?" So I had no fear. I'd always just pick up the phone and figure it out. So that's my national ability. And then as I started to go through school, communications, then get into the real world of business, I began to learn how to navigate and how things actually worked in this world, where you had to go to get things done, who controlled what, who was in charge, how does the media work, how does business work. I just started to learn how things work. And what I realized is that my net worth is my network. And so I want to know everybody. And I tell my boyfriend, I tell a lot of people this: when I'm at places, I'm not one of those like professional networkers where I'm like, "Give me your business card, give me your business card." That's not how I am. I'm there because, one, I've been invited and it interests me, but clearly there's some people there that I probably will work with again in my life. And so whoever I'm talking with, I want to know your story. I want to know what you do. And it may not mean anything to me at that point, but I bet you years down the road, I'm going to have an idea. Someone's going to come to me and say, "Hey, I'm opening up this energy," and I'm going to say, "Oh my goodness, I remember this event that I was at that time, and this guy, and his career." And it has just been my job to know as many people as I can know that are maybe in fields that I'm interested in, or just in general. And that's what I like to know people. And then I know that I'll probably have to leverage them when it comes time to fix a problem or to put a team together to build something.
More hands you shake, more money you make. I've been saying it for years. People don't realize how valuable relationships are. Like, really, realistically, like in some of my advice I give, relationships, I always say real. The real Brad Lee, real is my brand. The real is for relationships. Yeah. Because, ma'am, you already touched on it. Yeah. But I mean, you've never followed my content, and you discovered the same thing. This is the point I'm trying to make. Like, relationships are critical to, I think, success, because your network. Everything. Yeah, but if you look at it, when we're born, if we don't have relationships, we would die. Yeah. Babies will die without a relationship. When we're dying, all we care about are relationships. Yeah. It's like we're not wanting to see our bank accounts or our trophy cases or, "Hey, let me see my accomplishments one more time." It's always the people that we want around us. Yeah. So it's like, in the beginning, we need them to live. And then in the end, that's all we care about. Why do we forget in the middle? And why do people not realize, shake hands, introduce yourself, be like interested in who people are. And like you said, it may not be right now, but maybe 2 years down the road, something comes up. It's always relationships. That's why I try to, like, I don't care if you have money, if you're poor, if you're rich, I try to treat everybody with respect. And I always realize that whoever I meet knows something I don't. Yeah. And I want to know everybody too. Yeah. So I'm a networker but I don't go around the room. How you doing? How you doing?
Me neither.
But when I do meet somebody, it's like I am asking, so what do you do? And who are you? And, you know, I'm actually honestly interested, which is, you know, what people like, believe it or not. As soon as you get them talking, they love that. You get on
talking about themselves. You're right.
Yeah, you get on an airplane.
Well, let me mention something to you. So my crisis communication firm is called the Secret Weapon Agency for a reason. You know how I got the name? My bosses at the time, when I came off the Hill and I started working in Florida, I worked for this group of people, and they owned a really controversial company called MB Realty. It was kind of redoing the real estate industry. Some of the best people I know. His name is Tony Mitchell, and just the salt of the earth, came from nothing and became like very wealthy. But he would always tell me, because they said, you have this ability to just go in and talk to anyone and they'll tell you everything. And we've never seen anything like it. Like, you'll sit down with someone and they just start telling you their whole life story. All of a sudden, you know everything. You know about their grandma. You know this. You know where the berries are. You just know everything. It's the craziest thing. And so they said, you're like our little secret weapon. We just send you in and you just find out everything. And so we started running around, and I was just called the secret weapon. But it wasn't because I'm a manipulator. It wasn't any of that. It's because I genuinely like to hear people's story. I really actually don't like to talk about myself. I know we're on a podcast and we're talking about things, and I have a hard time with it, because I would prefer to sit and listen to you and figure out how you became successful, what you did, who you know, what's your story. I love that. And I think that is why I've been effective in helping people.
It is.
It's because, well,
You're interested.
I'm interested. And also another thing, Brad, I'm not motivated by money. And a lot of people in consulting industries and all, it's all about the money and the dollar and how much you can squeeze out of people. I don't talk about money when I meet people. When they're asking me, how much are your services? I'm like, listen, let's just not worry about that right now. I just need to know if I like you, and I want to know your story, and we'll figure out that, you know, but that's just not what drives me. I don't care. And I'm not saying that money is important. Obviously, I'm not stupid. I like nice things. I live a great life, and I like to, you know, I like to be comfortable. We'll say that, but it's not my motivating factor. So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing, most people check their banking accounts and things like that. Not me. I'm checking my email. I'm reading my text because it's full of problems. But what gets me is like, oh, today I get to go and we're gonna help that like this is gonna happen. I'm excited in the things that I'm doing. When things are popping off and people are nervous, I'm like, let's go. Like, we're in the heat of this. I'm so excited. Like, we're going to fix this person. We're going to bring that giant down. Like, and yes, it's a lucrative business, because when you can fix problems, it spreads like wire files. Because one thing that everybody has in common is we all got a problem. And, you know, yes, an attorney, but sometimes the attorney is not the person that you're going to be willing to open up to. So which is why I work with attorneys, is because the attorneys, we can work through the legality, but there's some strategic things we need to work behind the table that make people comfortable. But
what if someone tells you some shit they shouldn't tell you? Because you're not an attorney-client privilege.
Attorney. Exactly. So I can listen.
So not only that, like, if I'm listening to this podcast and I need your help, I'm not coming if I actually did some shit and I'm a dirty guy trying to get out of it. Obviously, you're a white hat trying to just help the freaking innocent.
Well, and that's the thing. I've actually been pretty blessed. I've got a great personality and I'm easy to talk to, but a lot of bad people have actually stayed away from me. And I know that won't be like that forever. I'm very aware that there are a lot of bad people in this world who would love to take advantage of someone who could help get them out of trouble. I understand that. But I've been pretty blessed because I have a lot of very good people around me who look out for me every day, including, you know, someone that's in this room. And their job in life is they didn't have the life that I had. And I had a good life, and I had very good parents, and I lived in a very safe household where we had the ability to think it was a no judgment zone. We could go to our parents and tell them anything, and they wouldn't freak out. They would say, "Okay, well let's handle this, but thank you for telling the truth," you know. But other people around me didn't have that. They lived in situations where it was very powerful, very controversial, and they don't trust anyone. So when people come around me now, I've got about 5 or 6 men who say, stay the hell away from that person. They're bad news. And so that's been good for me as a woman, right? But what were we saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was just thinking about that.
I said you were a white hat. You're you're helping the innocent.
That's right. So yeah, you're right. I'm lucky that I get to pick and choose who I want to help. Let's just say that. But I have a saying with my clients. This is a no judgment zone. I will work with the attorneys. You tell the truth, but my job is to be as strategic as we can. That, I'm not an attorney, so I don't have I don't have to, go and with ethics. Not that I'm doing anything wrong, because I'm not at all. I that's why I have a lot of attorneys on payroll, and we chat through everything. And every move that I make, I pick up one. But one of my attorneys tells me every day, "Don't fly too close to the sun today, Di." Because I do. Sometimes I'm flying pretty close and it's tough. And he's like, "I don't want you to get burnt, and you will. So don't fly too close to the sun today. Check everything that you do. And, as long as you're covered, you're good." And so, yeah, that's kind of how.
Well, I think you're covered by the big guy. So you don't have to worry about it. Both big guys. Both big guys, but the biggest guy.
Yeah.
Hey,
Amen.
so you blasted Lena Khan's FTC for attacks on PBMs.
Yeah.
Where's the line between healthy regulation and heavy-handed market sabotage?
Well,
and who really pays for it?
That's great. Those who are invested in the downside, or those that are invested in the demise of those who are their competition. So whoever has the most money and who are friends with the regulators get the most power. And that's unfair. We were talking a bit ago when you were saying, if I ever ran for office, I don't know if we said this on here or not, so you could cut this out. I don't know, but
I don't edit.
Okay, good. So here you go. When you were talking about earlier, if I ever ran for office, I would be running for the people who basically, employ people in businesses. So
that's one thing that bothers me.
Right. And obviously you'd be taking care of the people, the working class and stuff too. But this is an example of that. Why have we started punishing big business in this country? Why all of a sudden has it become anti-big business? Now, I can understand if those big businesses and conglomerates were violating the law and they were hurting their people, but why did it become unpopular to build great corporations? And why all of a sudden did we start regulating the hell out of these people and punishing them for building huge companies that employ hundreds of thousands of people? I don't understand. How are we pro-business, entrepreneurial, free market, but now we've become anti-big business? It doesn't make any sense to me. So if you read my piece and I haven't announced this yet, but I'm coming on with an organization that we're going to start advocating for these big businesses, because these big businesses, such as CVS and all, they employ hundreds of thousands of people around the country. Small families, small middle-class people rely on these jobs to provide for their families. And why are we regulating and why are we targeting them now? Why is it becoming hard for them to exist? Mom and pop stores cannot employ all of these people, and they can't pick up the demand of what these organizations can.
Wouldn't it be special interest groups?
Yes.
That's who's doing it.
100% special interest groups.
Follow the money.
Bingo, follow the money. And what you will find is it's usually their competition.
Yeah.
So they use these special interest groups that disguise themselves over labor protections and all these buzzwords of, oh, you're a predator towards different colored people, or you're a predator towards older people. They start to use this predatory language. Always be aware when the media starts taking on companies and they say that they're discriminating. Go find out who's funding those people, because you will most likely find there's no discriminating at all. They hired a crisis communication firm to pick out all the buzzwords, and they start using those to take down those corporations, because those buzzwords are what bring little red lights onto regulators. And when the regulators start hearing the buzzwords of discrimination or whatever, controversial things that help bring lawsuits, that tags lawmakers. Lawmakers then tag justice departments to start investigations into things. And it all started from a crisis communication or a firm that started doing some market research on their organization's competition to take them down. And they use the systems in place that we put in place to actually protect people. They use that to then take down their competition. And I've seen that over and over.
So obviously, if someone came to you to do that, you wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do it.
But
I've never done it.
But there's groups out there that would.
A lot of them.
Because like lobbyists, you're kind of a lobbyist, aren't you?
Yeah, in some sense. I mean, I have to be careful when I say that. You know, when you're a lobbyist, you have to register, right? And so, but there are certain tiers that make you register. Right now, I don't have to register because there's not anything that I'm specifically lobbying the government for. But when I do have clients that do approach me and say, hey, I want you to go lobby the White House directly, then I have to make a decision if I'm going to do that or if I'm going to then go and give someone else that opportunity to work with my client. And so, yes, technically I could be a lobbyist, but right now I'm not a registered lobbyist, no.
But again, the only reason that word lobbyist is just, again, that's part of the bureaucracy, I think.
It is.
Because to me, you can be a good person, you can be a bad person. You can be a good lobbyist, you can be a bad lobbyist. But at the end of the day, I would think lobbying, if I were going to try to fix this country, would be illegal. Like you cannot go bribe people.
Yeah.
You cannot go pay people. And I'm not talking about lobbying like the true sense of the word.
Yeah.
I'm talking about paying people off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's proof. I'm listening to stories, so I don't know this to be true, but there's proof from what I hear where like someone in a position of power votes a certain way, and then coincidentally, their brother gets $1 million a year job with the company that benefits from it. And it's like, wait a minute, like you guys can't see what just happened right there. And first of all, what did the constituents say? Well, it doesn't matter because doesn't matter here. And then these politicians, they're getting rich.
Yeah.
They go to Washington, D.C., they work there forever, and they get worth millions and millions of dollars. And you look at their pay, and their pay is not millions of dollars. So what are they doing?
Yeah.
Well, they're taking money from special interest and lobbyists,
or they're putting it in trust or whatever they're doing at the time.
They're doing something, I would say, illegal or unethical at best, or
bingo,
at least.
But the very people that are going to stop that would have to then like cut the hand that feeds them to make those laws, and they'll never do it. So you're talking about, can you fix the system? Well, you got to start with term limits, because then that would kind of fix those things.
That would help.
And then you got to make it illegal for them to be lobbyists for years and years, like 10, 15 years. And actually in some states that already exist, the states have done a pretty good job with that. Like in North Carolina, once you leave the state legislature, you can't be a lobbyist for a period of time.
Well, they should just have transparency.
Yes.
So like the transparency, just like with, the DOGE stuff, like they were uncovering obvious fraud and waste.
Yeah. And
nobody is screaming. Nobody is like in jail. It's like, that don't make sense.
It makes no sense because it's all like, okay, I will say this. There are good lobbyists, and then there's good lobbying and there's bad lobbying. This is how, and some of it I see as lobbying and some of it I see as like government affairs, where I kind of lay in. I wouldn't consider myself a lobbyist because I'm not bought off by anyone. I consider myself someone who's worked in government and understands how to get things done in government. Most people like yourself, you have engaged with government, but most everyday people, when they find themselves in a position where they then have to engage with the government to get done, they're like, I don't know how to do this. Where the hell do I even go? And so they would go to people like me who understand how government works and can put a strategy together. It's like, okay, this law is really hurting your company. And so we got to figure out how to get that law like fixed because it's not right in a lot of people. So how do you do that, right? Most everyday people wouldn't know how to do that. So they would come to me and other people who have worked in government, and we would say, yes, you're absolutely right. That doesn't make any sense. We got to get it. We got to get to work. We got to figure out how to do that. That is appropriate because that's what lobbying is supposed to be for. But what it has become is like a slush fund for certain major groups that, want to put out their competition. So, I mean, we could go into days about this. Big money.
And at the end of the day, they're bribing people.
Absolutely.
So here's my last question.
And I'm not into that.
Insider trading is illegal.
Yeah.
If I did it, I would go to prison.
Yeah.
Martha Stewart went to prison. Tons of people went to prison for insider trading.
Yeah.
Isn't it not illegal for government officials to do it?
That's very interesting. I think that conversation is going on right now. Look at Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
She
Look
has
at,
made-
well, it's not just her,
I know it's a lot of
like,
people. Republicans too. There are some.
isn't that insider trading though? They know the government's about to do a contract with this publicly traded company.
Yes.
They run out and buy that stock because they were just in a meeting and they know that it's approved.
Yep.
That's insider trading.
100%.
So how come they're allowed to do it?
Yeah, that's great. You're right. And I'd like to know that too. And I would like them to pass a bill and make it illegal for them to trade
They
on
shouldn't be
stocks.
ってto invest in anything that they were involved in.
Yeah, because you see these people go into Congress. We know how much they make.
Just like when Joe Biden pardoned his son.
Preemptively.
You shouldn't be allowed to pardon your own family as a president. You should just have the next president do it if you're such a clean fella.
Yeah.
Or if you're involved in, because again, I don't blame Joe Biden for pardoning his son.
Yeah.
Like if my son was in trouble, I'd probably pardon the dipshit too.
Yeah.
But if he was a scumbag criminal and I'm part of that scumbaggery, which again is all alleged, we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I don't think I should be able to pardon myself. And then what the hell is a blanket pardon? Where he's pardoned for whatever he did. It's like, don't you have to do something and then get pardoned for it? Isn't that what a pardon is?
But I think you're right, 100%. I mean, I agree with you on that. But I think it's bigger than that, though. Because the problem is not the pardons. The problem is not that. It's that we have weaponized our political process now. And they started that because they hated Trump so much that they started setting new precedences of using the systems in place to target their opposition. And now we're here where we're at, where now we have to use the pardon process, which is supposed to be a process reserved for those who deserve it, right? And now we're using it as the only way to protect people now, and for Trump to protect other people that are being politically targeted, or for Joe Biden, who started it all against Trump and their party, who then used it in his favor because of what Trump had to do with preemptively pardoning his people on his way out because they were going to put them all in jail just for being associated with him. And Trump, the only way that he could protect them on his way out of office was to preemptively pardon them. So Biden used that as, well, hey, he did it because of what we did to him. So now we're going to set the new precedents that he set, and we're going to now just pardon all of our corrupt family members, allegedly. And so that is the bigger problem. We have gotten so out of control with what we're willing to do to take down the opposition in this country that we are delegitimizing all the things that we put in place to preserve of overreach of government and justice. So now we have to use and now look what happened. Look what they've done to the court because of that. Now the Supreme Court has to weigh in on everything. Everything goes to the Supreme Court now that goes through government. That's unheard of. That's not what the Supreme Court was meant to be. That's not what these court systems, they're not supposed to be legislative branches. They're not supposed to be the correction of just like small things. It's supposed to be major things. But now they're the most pivotal part of the country is the dang courts.
So how do we fix it, fixer? So you're going to have me running for politics so I can get up there and fix it with you.
And that is how we fix it.
Are we ever going to see Diana London running for president?
Everybody thinks so, but no.
Would you just like frickin' be frazzled?
This is the thing. No. I would never be frazzled. So, okay, I'll never say no because that's, listen, if I ever did, they're going to run this video back and say, oh, you're a flipper. You said you wouldn't. So this is what I will say is this. As of now in my life, I have no intentions to run for office, not because I don't respect it, but because there's nothing right now that I feel like that I want to go up there and do. I think I'm more effective helping good people get elected that I think would be fantastic leaders. And I still want to have my own private life, or if I want to go get on a boat and go hang out somewhere and not pick up my phone, I'd like to do that too as well. But I told people what would make me run for office is if there was an issue that I felt like I was the only one who could fix it. and the only one who was called to fix it. And if I got so frustrated where I was like, dang it, why isn't this getting done? And I felt like, you know what, I'm going to have to go up there and be the one that has to do it. That would be the only thing. But for now, I want good people like you to run. I want good people. I'm just not there in my life where I want to do that. I feel like that there's a lot of other things that I'd like to do, and government is not the only thing that I want to focus on. You know, I like other industries that don't deal with the government, and I like to build businesses and help good people make their businesses successful and bring in capital to help them and help. You know, I don't think the government is the end all solution to everything. They're not. They're the problem. So when government gets out of the way and private businesses are the ones who are thriving, most of these solutions are actually fixed. We just need government to get out of the way and let, you know, private industries lead the way in solving some of our most, and you know, worst problems that we have in the world.
Like it used to be.
Like it used to be.
I mean, that's how it was
I'd like
set
to see
up,
the
right?
downsize of government. I really would. And these elected officials, they're just up there to help pass the budget and to fund the roads and to keep us safe. And the rest of it, let the American people and private companies solve those problems.
How much money would I need to raise to run for president?
Oh, gosh. At this point, I mean, I'm telling you,
It's in the billions,
Trump
isn't
is
it?
trying to raise right now $1 billion. So he's raised over $500 million, actually more than over $500 million. But I think by the time he's out of office, he would have raised $1 billion. Now, I know, I understand why the president needs to do that, because at this point he has to, because of the obstacles that they face is far more. But that, in my opinion, should be criminal. Why are our elections costing this much money? And who is giving all of this money? Because the everyday American cannot give hundreds of thousands, nor should they give hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, and I'm not one of those people that thinks that, you know, we need to like go in and start federally overhauling elections and the government should start funding campaigns. No, absolutely not. But why are our elections costing billions of dollars? Because the only people who are able to pay that money are people that a lot of times we don't want giving to our elections, but they are funding our elections. And then unfortunately, the good people who actually should be running can't afford, and nor do they want to put their hat in the ring when they feel like that they're going to be completely taken down over one little silly thing that they did in their past. Or maybe they voted for someone that wasn't of the right party one time because they're not political people and they liked their neighbor, and their neighbor just so happened to be a Democrat, or their neighbor just so happened to be a Republican, and they voted for him for student councilor, for mayor. And then now all of a sudden the main campaign opposition against you is that you voted for a Democrat when that was just your really good friend and you liked them a lot, and now you're a demon and you're a rhino. You know what I mean? So that's why good people won't get off the fence, and it's also so expensive. So you get consultants come in and say, yeah, I'm going to help you run for office as a state rep, but you got to raise $1 million right now. And they're like, $1 million? I mean, I don't even make $1 million. I mean, my neighbor makes 50,000. It's even a lot for me to ask him for $100. And you know, it's just too expensive. So that's where we really got to start and overhauling these elections. And until we can get good people who actually are the ones who should run for the country, who should run for leadership in this country, our problems won't be solved until those people are the ones who actually start winning elections and getting it and doing it for the right thing.
Well, I told you only an hour, and it's been an hour 30, so I got one more question. Hope you don't have a flight or something.
No, we're here. We're enjoying Vegas.
Are we going to war?
Whew. Oh, gosh. You know, again, Newsmax and them keep booking me to talk about this too. And okay, so this is where I'm at with this. And my boyfriend, I know I keep referring to him, nobody's even going to see him. He's not on the screen, but you know, he's my biggest confidant in life because he's from Pakistan. And I say this for a reason, because he has a different worldview than me, but yet we find ourselves in the same political worldview. But he's from Pakistan, and why this is important. He's from Pakistan and comes from a family that is influential in Pakistan. His grandfather was the founder of the Associated Press in Pakistan. And, you know, so he sees this worldview that I didn't see. So we sit back and we talk about war all day. And he's like, World War III is already going to happen. It's already started. He studies history, and he studies Hitler, and he studies like how these people rose. And he's like, World War III started years ago. And if you ever studied war, you notice it didn't just pop off in one day. There were things that already happened. And so he's saying it's already started. And I say, no. I'm more of an optimist. I believe that, no, I think we're going to avoid war. So it depends on who you're talking to. So do I think we're going to war? No, I don't think that we're in war right now. But do I think that we're going to go to war one day? Yeah, I think so. Because I think that the 4 years under Biden, I think we will find were the most consequential years of the start of the war that will come one day. Because under Trump, he was the leader of peace. And you saw the Middle East, the rise of peace within Israel and the Middle East with the Abraham Accords, with Jared Kushner. That was not supposed to happen. And it did happen. And I think it de-escalated because they made it all about economic freedom. They understood that the religious stuff that everybody talks about is actually not what funds these wars. It's economy, it's prosperity, and they understood that. So when Trump left, and within 4 years, the entire world fell apart, and it emboldened China and Russia and other countries to basically fast pace things that they were terrified to even consider doing with Ukraine. And they made a lot of gains and they were very successful. And one thing that they proved was that the hypocrisy of the American government, where we say, we're going to sanction you, Russia, but yet we're going to buy all your oil. And so how does that make any sense that the very people that were sanctioning these oligarchs and all these things in these other countries, were sanctioning them for good, for media and publicity and what it looks like that we're doing. But in the same sense, we're buying all of their oil and they're getting wealthy, and it meant nothing. And everybody started to see that, like, oh, wait, the pipeline blew up. Why didn't Russia get in trouble? Like, what? Wait. The pipeline blew up, but we never really heard about who did it. And all this stuff began to happen. And in the 4 years, because Biden was gone pretty much, and the military industrial class and all of these other people were running this country, getting rich and starting a war, they fast tracked that. And so I think that he's probably right that we will see a war, but I'm also optimistic and hoping that Trump is so a change maker and he's so anti-war that I think as long as he's in charge the next 4 years, and if we have a JD Vance 4 years after that, I think maybe we could stop a war from happening in our generation, hopefully. I hope. So I know that doesn't answer the question fully, but I do believe that if we didn't have Biden, if we had Kamala Harris, that we would be in World War III, 1,000%. They were preparing for it. But because Trump is not, he's the wrench in the issue now. He stopped it. I think that it won't happen during our time. And I could listen. This is why I haven't been going on media, because you know what? We could wake up tomorrow and there could be a war, and I look like. But again, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful by his posture and how he's saying, I don't want a war to happen. I know that if it can be stopped, it won't happen under him. But if there is no option, and that's all there was basically that was the only way, then it would have had to happen.
And if it ever does, do you think nukes are going to be used?
Yeah.
Because
that's the problem.
That's when it goes
dropping bombs.
But that's when it goes ape shit.
But
like, when's the last time a nuclear weapon was used?
Japan?
Hiroshima? Yeah, like that was a long time ago. Was it 46? I don't even know.
Yeah, Hawaii.
45?
Yeah. Hawaii.
Yeah, so again, like that's major. So like when I say war, I'm not talking about conflict, because we're definitely in conflict already. We've been in conflict.
We've been at war pretty much.
Every year for the past 50 years. Like we're at war somewhere along in the world. But I'm talking about
nuclear war. Listen.
Because if that shit happens, doesn't it go completely chaotic and everything's over?
Well, 100%. That's why it's so dangerous now, because...
Well, that's why saving your money's stupid. What are you going to do with money?
Yeah, no kidding.
You better have guns and ammo.
Well, that's why Iran can't get a nuclear weapon fully.
And I think that's when Trump will step in, is because he's going to stop that under any circumstance.
And I think that's what he's doing right now. And he's trying. That's why I'm so glad he's president, because he's so restrained. He's not war hungry, versus the rest of them would already say, nuke the hell out of him, drop the bomb on Iran. That's what they would figure out.
What do you think would happen then?
What, if they dropped the bomb on Iran?
If we did.
Oh, a war would start.
With who?
1,000%. I mean, who do you think?
China
Russia?
come after us?
Russia, China, yeah.
Do you think
who's funding Iran? Look, who's funding
Do you
Iran.
think anybody would be shipped over to our territory, which has never happened, has it?
No, it would be a nuclear war. It wouldn't be a boots on the ground. That's why nuclear is so dangerous.
So we just see entire cities blowing up.
100%. They would
Dude,
drop
if that
a bomb on
happens,
us.
it's anarchy.
All it takes is one nuclear weapon to go off, and
That's
that
right.
would have been Iran. Iran, if they would have got it, they would have done it. Just because they literally chant death to America every day, and they're unstable. Not the
Why
people.
can't they just buy it from Russia or China?
Well, because Russia and China doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon because they don't want
Well,
a
if
nuclear war.
they're going to aim it at us, what do they care?
Well, nobody. I mean, they don't want a nuclear war because everyone's dead. That's the thing. What people don't understand. It's like
one nuke is not going to make everyone go crazy and blow each other up.
yeah, but what happens from after that? Because
Well,
one
what's going to
nuke
happen is we're going to
means
find out what happened.
Yeah.
What happened? Like you said,
Yeah.
first 24 hours of crisis. Calm down. Collect. What happened? What's the problem? Well, the problem is some dipshit sold Iran a bomb.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was it? China. Okay. China sanction. Now, again, if
Yeah.
everyone started going, we're done with this nonsense. Well, dude, does everybody want to die? Because that's what would happen.
But see, that's the problem. We're talking about crisis communication within the first 24 hours. Yes. But when a nuclear bomb, think about 9/11. That's a really good opportunity because that was kind of like our nuke, right? Our modern day. The building fell and thousands of people were dead. And the emotion within the country, it would be the same thing with a nuke, but on a level 100.
Oh, it'd be
because
crazy.
so many people would be dead and so many people would be so angry they would not give a hill of beans of actually what was going to go on. All they would want was revenge. And then all the other countries who are your allies. What is that when Bush asked the Pakistani, I say this because we talk about it all the time, when he says, are you with us or are you against us? And the Pakistani president said, we are with you. The same thing would happen with the nuclear war. That nuke goes off, they're going to call every ally that they have and they say, are you with us or are you against us? And if you're with us, you better drop that bomb right now. That's what would happen. It's an emotional thing. And there's such a political pressure. And that's why nobody wants a nuke to go off. Because once one nuke goes off, it's not one. Everybody who is your ally, it's like your friends. When they're like, hey, are you with me or against you? You're going to war against somebody who just took your family down, and you look at all your friends and they're like, I'm with you, let's go. And they don't care if it's right or wrong. All they care is that you messed with my friend, and it's my obligation to stand beside my friend. And whatever my friend says, we ride it, Don, we ride it, Don. It's the same thing with a nuke. And so we all know that. We are a part of allies with, all other nations. And if anything happens to America or our ally, it's our responsibility to go and to take up arms and to do what it takes to protect them. So Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because they would start a nuclear war. Period.
How come the people that have one don't?
Because they know what happens with a nuclear war. It means the whole world will end.
But
at the
Iran's just like a retarded cousin that just doesn't get it. Like, why is Iran the only one that doesn't understand? Or they just don't care? They want to go to heaven.
Well, I think you have the Iranian regime and you have the Iranian people. The Iranian people do not want the Iranian regime. And the rest of the Middle East do not want the Iranian regime. And the Iranian people have tried to rise up and get rid of the regime, but they haven't been successful.
So why don't someone just go in and snuff them?
I think that's what Israel was trying to do. I think that's what they're trying to do right now. So, again.
Well, they're just bombing. You don't snuff out a regime by bombing the whole country.
Well, but you heard what Trump said the other day, right? That he said that Netanyahu was going to assassinate the president. He could have done it that night when he took out all of his nuclear people, pretty much. But he told him not to. Now, he didn't say, don't do that because he's my friend. No, he said that so that Iran would come to the table and make a deal. So he basically said, listen, I just saved your life. And I could have said, hey, all right, do what you got to do, man. No, we're not going to get involved over here. So you kill him. But he basically said, we don't want a war to start. You want you to do the right thing for your people, because a lot of people are going to die if you don't come to the table right now and make a deal.
And they said no.
And they said no. And so that's why he said yesterday, what a stupid decision that you just made, because a lot of people are going to die. And these people are the victims because they don't want that. And so
why don't they just send somebody in to wipe out whoever said no, one at a time? How about you? How about you? Just go around the table. Boom. How about you? You want to come to the table? Boom. How about you? You coming? Mm-hmm. Why bomb everybody?
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's a great question. Like, I don't know the intelligence. That's why it's so hard for us to really dig into deep about what's going on, because it's changing every moment. It's at war. But okay, so I don't know how at this point the Iranian regime, the supreme leader, stays alive at this point. I don't, because the entire Middle East wants that guy gone. I mean, you look at Trump's first visit. What's his name? The Iranian leader?
Isn't it Ayatollah something?
Ayatollah, right? Yeah. So they want them gone. The entire Middle East wants them gone.
It's not
Saudi
Khomeini.
Arabia.
That was the old one, right?
The guy, what is his name?
Ayatollah something.
It's the Ayatollah. They always say the
Ayatollah is like a title.
Right. It's like their leader. But at this point, the entire Middle East does not want. They want him gone too. But prime example, that's why Trump did his first visit overseas was to the Middle East. That was for a reason. It wasn't because he was anti-Israel or any of that. I think it was all strategic on what's going on. But the Middle East, when Jared Kushner was doing the Abraham Accords and they made those deals with Israel and all, it was so significant because what the Middle East says is that we want peace. We want prosperity. But Iran is the problem. They're the ones who keep the terrorism breeding ground. They're feeding it, and a lot of their bad actors in their countries are using Iran to do that. So obviously this is a deeper conflict, but the Middle East, they want to turn the corner. They're tired of the bad actors with Iran. And so I don't know how, again, this is my opinion, and I'm not saying that I have any special intelligence, but just as a common sense person like you who's looking at this and has a little bit of information, I don't know how he comes out of this alive. I don't. Now the question is, and this really ultimately is the question. Think of the cartels, the drug cartels, and any leadership, right? Once one goes down, the next one's already there ready to go. So if he does die, then what are they going to do? Is it just going to be another one that he's been training to step right up and it's just going to continue to perpetuate the Iranian, situation with these leaders? I mean, is it the same thing? Or if they're going to take him out, then they better take them all out, and then they better help the Iranian people to build a government and a society like it used to be pre-Ayatollah or even before that. Then they better help them put a system in place to have a democracy. Now that's Afghanistan again. We get into that, right? Wasn't that the whole plan? We're going to get in and I run like get rid of the Taliban, get rid of all these people, and we're going to help them build a democracy and a government. And that didn't work. It didn't work. It created a vacuum, and then we had an embarrassment exit under the Biden administration, all because we think that we need to go in and set up governments. I don't think we do a good job of that. So it's a slippery slope. America First does not want a war. We also don't believe that it's our job to go in and fix other countries. But it is our job to have relationships, because ultimately it will affect us and it affects the world. And everybody's looking to us to solve the problem. So this is again, I don't know what's going to happen with Iran. I don't think we're going to go to war. Some people do. I think the optimistic me, I don't want to go to war. Too many people are going to die and it's unnecessary. But I'll say this. I trust the president because he doesn't want war, and he's a problem solver, and he wants economic opportunity for all of these countries. He wants them to prosper, and he wants peace. And if he can negotiate something, he will. And I hope that he does.
Might be the wrong sound effect for that ending. Yeah. Again, if Trump, if you run into Trump, if he was here right now, I'd tap him on the shoulder, and first thing I'd say is, "Pardon me. Can I help?" And if I can help, let me know. I'll go over there and be the Ayatollah momentarily.
Bingo.
I think hopefully there's no war.
Gosh, I hope not.
I mean, dude, everything's going good. Everything's going good for everything right now.
If you thought COVID crumbled,
See, I want to get into COVID too, because I mean, we're going to have you back.
Yes.
Because listen, I got COVID to talk about. Like that whole thing, dude, now that we can talk about it.
The election.
Well, and we can talk about it now.
That's what they used to steal the election was COVID. And it actually wasn't that hard to steal the election. I know we're wrapping up on this, but quick thought. You talked about the election. Let me circle back to that. It is actually not that hard to steal an election. You just need these like purple cities like Philadelphia and these main, like you look at Georgia, Atlanta, you look at Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, you look at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, you look at Arizona, and you look at the main city there, right? All you need to do is lax voting where people can mail in and there's ballot boxes and they don't clean their election laws. New York, none of these people, they don't clean their rolls. Why do you think California stays the way? California is not blue. It is red, but they will not clean their voter rolls, and the legislature dominates. And so they're not going to clean up their system. So you need all these places. And then COVID happened, and it was like, yes, Stacey Abrams and her organization had been working on this for years to try to get these mail-in ballots, because they knew the easiest way to steal it was they knew all the locations. They were going to send hundreds of ballots out, and one mailbox, there's like 5 or 6 or 10 ballots, right, that would go to them. They would fill them all out. Someone would come and get them, and they would stamp them and put them on. And they knew, and it really wasn't that hard. I don't think it has anything to do with Dominion and all this kind of stuff. You didn't need any of that. Not that I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't read enough into Dominion to know, but all you needed was a few of these cities that were already on the fence. I mean, the election was tight anyways, in a sense, right? And so they took all these illegal ballots and did all this stuff, and they knew the cities where to put them, and they just chalked these certain districts full and flipped the election. It really wasn't that hard. And most people who are strategists who understand actually where the votes, it's all about the votes, the counting of the votes. So when you go to run for office, your strategist is going to say, okay, Brad, this is your district. You need this amount of votes, and we need to pull from here, 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 and here. So you need to focus on these 6 counties and don't go to any other county, just go to these 6 counties, because this is where all of your votes come from. And you need to get 60% of this, you need to get 30% of this, you need to get 10% of here, and this is where all your votes, and you're good. So it's the same with the presidential election. It's all about pulling the votes from certain areas. So the Democrats knew that there were certain cities that they could literally just fill those cities up, and it wouldn't look weird because they're Democrat leaning anyways, but they just filled them with millions of ballots. And in the Electoral College, obviously, state by state, it depends on the votes that they're getting within the counties. And if one county is just all of a sudden, you looked at it, was like 110% on one county. How the hell did you get 110% on a vote? Like, you see what I mean? So they knew the cities to pump this in and what states to do it. And that's how they did it.
Scandalous.
Scandal.
Well, we need more fixers. You should come out with a course for becoming a fixer.
Yeah, thick skin. And don't run from your problems in your past. Your past is not what makes you. It's what actually makes you better.
Folks, she's got to go or I'd keep asking questions. I'll have her back on another episode. Diana London, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And folks, go follow her. You guys know where she's at the London Heiress. And by the way, like I know there's going to be people wanting to, apply to have you help them.
Yeah.
Where would they go?
Yeah, well, actually I don't have a website. I don't market because
then you better DM her, folks.
Yeah, you can DM me. You can email me at diana@fordandlondon.com. That's a good one. Or just DM me. I'm the kind of person that I don't need to market because I'm not trying to get more business like that. I believe that those who need to find me will find me, and they'll find someone that knows me. And then if you got to me, then that means I semi-trust you because you got to me through someone I trust. So,
that's good. That's a good filter right there.
Yeah, and I don't want to market. I just don't. I'm not in the business of marketing. So.
Well, folks, just to show her how many people were listening, just go DM her. I need help. And then tell her the Bomb Squad sent you. Or
if you want to work for me. Ooh. Actually, that's more what I'm interested in right now.
What?
I want to find people that have an interest in doing what I do and that are fearless and want to fix all different types of industries. If you want to fix the energy sector, or if there's certain things that you feel like that you have a unique ability to, and maybe knowledge that I don't have, I need good people.
You need fixers.
I need fixers, people who are unafraid.
See,
and again,
now your DMs just blew up.
Yeah, and again,
I'm telling you should have said that in the beginning.
And your past doesn't matter to me. And that's another thing. I think people get all nervous because they have situations in their past that they may be embarrassed. I'm not afraid of that. Like, I like
hell,
people.
she'll get you pardoned.
Maybe.
Dude, listen, if you guys want to go and fix things, again, I mean, like, there's a lot of people that are going to hit you up for that.
Yeah.
That's like, that would be me if I was listening. Like, I think there's a lot of good people that, want to do good, and you just gave them an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I love that. So I want good. I think that problem solving is a really good business because a lot of people have problems. But I want to build a reputation of doing the right thing and not being afraid to take on the things that, could get you canceled, or, I don't care about that. So we need more of that. We need more bold people.
Well, I wish you luck in everything you do.
Thank
you for coming in. You're welcome back anytime you come through.
Well, let's solve some of these problems and we'll talk about how we did it, right?
Fair enough. Till next time, folks, keep it real.
Thank you. All right, that was fun.